wanted to provide you an update on the long and tenuous process that we have in developing a strategic plan. In your add-on package is the actual presentation that I'm sure will also come up on the screen. But wanted to highlight that our partners from Intercom are here, represented by their chief officer, Mr. Bill Stark, who will be here to answer any questions that you guys might have. But just in general, you know, when we look at strategic planning and what a strategic plan really is you know, we've got this document that will help us establish a 3 to 5 year direction for the city. EMA that was hosted by Ms. Kay Love, who's been a great partner of the city, on July 16th of 2018. That was the official kickoff of the strategic planning activities focused on budget priorities and goal setting. Out of that retreat, you identified some departments that were really important and what you consider priority. So with Parks and Recreation, due to capital needs, public safety, economic development, planning, you actually removed branding as one of the key priorities, but you added infrastructure investments as a key priority for funding, and public works, maintaining and existing facilities. You looked at the work plan activities that you had from FY17 and 18, and what you also implement, and they, along with some others, recommended Mr. Bill Stark and Intercom, who actually went through the procurement process and were selected. And so since that time, in October, actually, about a month and a half after the, a little less than a month and a half after your previous two exercises, they kind of hit the ground running and started working on taking the ideas and big buckets that you had in the big ideas that you had while in Athens and turning them into an implementation plan. So while we've gone over this before, I'll just highlight that Intercom has worked with a variety of different local municipal partners at the local and county level, a part of the process, and then the performance management, which is something that we have procured. Once the plan is actually developed, we have a performance management system, ClearPoint, that is in place. What is occurring now is the final stages of public engagement, where you know we have meetings that take place from February, the engagement from them. The city of East Point had no citizen input, and the city of Fayetteville had no direct citizen input, but they did recently engage in the National Citizen Survey, which they incorporated into their process. In Gwinnett, which is one of the largest counties and voted as one of the most well-run, while they had some community engagement, it aligns with the outputs that we have, where they had about 1,800 stakeholders who engaged with just an online survey. They actually didn't coordinate public events. And so when they developed their unified plan, that was the output of their engagement. For us here, as we look at the next steps for the strategic engagement, we want to make sure that we focus in on and truly get the word out and push out the community engagement portion, because while there is no best practice, I guess, or no one size fits all, for us, community engagement is a very important and key portion. I think the council has been very clear on that, so we have been responsive in making sure we do that. And so those next 4 activities are really important. The next piece, which is very important, is to publish the strategic plan. I think I always look back to when I first started with the city of South Fulton. Not only did we not have a strategic plan or any of those direct guidance, we were also moving forward with transition very quickly. And so having a strategic plan helps you not only provide the guidance and direction for the city, it also allows you to evaluate the work of your appointees, including myself as the city manager. And I believe it will be very helpful to receive that type of direct guidance, performance, and metrics for which I know I will be measured by moving forward. I think after publishing that strategic plan, you'll also want to make sure that we have a tool that measures it almost independently of us and tells us how good we're doing. And so that is where the ClearPoint strategy and performance management tool comes into place. I think the final comments that I have before turning it over to you for questions and any comments from Mr. Stark is that when you look at this strategic plan, the most successful ones around the country are those that are living, breathing documents and not just something that goes on the shelf. So I would encourage you as we move through this process to make sure you review those strategic goals and give us direction on an annual basis and determine the new strategic areas as they become available. Also updating the SWOT analysis and considering new citizen input will be very important, especially as we determine new departmental goals. And so with that, thank you for allowing me to present this to you today, and we'll entertain any questions or comments the council may have, as well as Mr. Stark.
Stark, do you have any additional comments? No. Okay, Mr. Khalid, I have 3 questions. So first, I'm a little alarmed about this, as a member of city government, to see that only 30% of our residents strongly agree or agree. I'm wondering I'm assuming that's a scale of from strongly disagree to agree. So what percentage of those people were neutral?
I do not have all of the results of the survey in front of me, but it was strongly disagree, neutral, agree, and strongly agree. So I did look at the results, and a lot of the results were neutral across the board, but the exact number I do not know.
Yeah,
That's easy to get to you.
Yes, because I'm afraid, like, one would see this and assume that 70% of the people do not agree, but it might be that 50% of them were actually neutral.
That's right.
The other thing that alarms me about these statistics.
Well, council member, there's one thing that you would want to highlight, because I think to your point, this is the strongly agree. So 54% of people strongly agree that they're satisfied with the opportunities to participate in their government.
I still would like to just see that breakdown. And then again, with the respondents satisfied with the overall image and reputation of our city. I was not aware that we removed branding as one of our, if only 15% of our people are satisfied with our image and reputation, one, I think that we might need to revisit that. And then 2, I'm not sure how we move forward with economic development without talking about branding. So I don't know who we're pitching to and what we're pitching if we haven't settled.
Well, Councilmember, I would remind you that, remember, that was just from your budget priorities, not your overall priorities. So when you listed your priorities of top funding priorities going into FY19, you removed branding as a top funding priority. And I think in reviewing the tape, when you guys talked about it, it was because you now have a communications plan, a communications leader and staff, and you have economic development staff. And so those resources that you allocated to them should cover your branding activities. At least that was the consensus of the council during your budget presentation.
Right. I still think that we should revisit that in our strategic plan. So that brings me to my last question was could you talk a little bit about the format of these 4 sessions? Like, what topics will be addressed? What is the overall agenda for those?
Yeah, we're developing it right now and finalizing it, but we want to be sure that the citizens are aware of the strategic focus areas that have been established already by the council. We'd like for them to be aware of that and perhaps speak into those 5 areas with comments or thoughts or suggestions. I'd say that's probably the primary purpose. So we want to get their feedback on the focus areas that have been already established. We also want to get their feedback on things that aren't a part of those strategic focus areas. They may have some comments or ideas that we just haven't thought about as a council or as a team. So we want to hear from them. In city government, there are about 13 broad areas that you all can affect, but you can only focus on 4 or 5 of them at a time. And so we want to give the citizens an opportunity to speak into all of them, and then take their input and prioritize it, rank it, and present it back to you all in this plan as part of the results.
And then my last question for now. As a citizen myself, who was born and raised here, what role will we play in these strategic planning sessions as council members / citizens?
What role will you play in the strategic planning sessions?
Yes.
Well, we want your input. We want you to contribute. We'd like to hear your voice. You will be able to stand up and speak. We'll have various questions and topics on the wall, and we're going to ask people to actually document their questions or thoughts or ideas for the city and put them in the different areas that apply. So we're going to ask everybody to speak up, both verbally and in written form, and tell us what's on their mind. What are the challenges that they see, and what are the opportunities that they see? So we need to hear from everybody that wants to come, and that's why giving it a few weeks to get publicity around it is so important. We really want a full house.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Burke, we had I don't know if it's a technical error, but one of the council people's name jumped off of the screen. And I'll allow her to go, as Ms. Jackson, we go right here.
I hear. I see, Novus, Councilwoman.
No, Ms. Jackson was up there, and all of a sudden, it just before Ms. Wills and just disappeared. So I just want to make sure nobody touched anything. Go ahead, Ms. Jackson.
Thank you, and I guess I'm thanking you for your presentation. But you all, you're saying that you want the full participation of the community. I'm glad that you did change to Burdette, as you know we asked, but also I did also communicate Wednesday nights. That is, I'm just going to say that's Bible study night, and my people are going to Bible study, and that's what I communicated to you. Thursday I have found out to be the better night, that they will come out and you'll get you'll get your rooms. Yeah, Thursday night, Thursday evenings. You're not going to hardly get anybody there on Wednesday.
So now they don't have to just go to Burdette, so they can go to any one of the open strategic planning sessions.
But I hear you. But I have a settled community, and those that are gonna come out, they're gonna come down the street, around the corner, and they're not going across the way. You have some younger ones that's gonna do that. But I'm already getting complaints from seniors saying that we are not engaging them. I think, Mayor, you got something from a senior, and I don't know why I was copied, but anyway. I'm saying we need to accommodate. And just because that day is good for you, it's not good for the
It's
community.
actually not good for me, council member.
Well, Thursday is much better for my community.
Okay. Duly noted.
And I've communicated that to you all before you
Good.
did this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Wills?
Yes, so, being that 15%, a large majority of, well, first of all, under the 5 strategic goals, you mentioned that these are the areas that we want to focus our funding, correct? Can we specify that somewhere on here? Because no one is gonna understand that. I mean, we may know that, but, and then we actually forgot that, but 5 strategic goals, these are the areas that we have said we wanted to focus our fiscal 19 funding, correct?
Yes, it's actually, so it's under the GMA budget retreat, and it's just the second slide. So that is directly what came out of the GMA piece. If you keep going, there's a second portion that led to the UGA portion of your strategic planning, where you had 5 different strategic goals.
I understand, but what I'm asking is, can we put that somewhere, like 5 strategic funding goals or
Put it
something?
where, Councilman?
Well,
I mean, put it in the, do you understand what I'm saying?
it's already in the draft document. We've already made accommodation for what you're saying,
Thank you.
and made that clear to the public.
Okay. And underneath the develop strong teams, the categories, I know we had several, when we did our strategic session in Athens, we had several items under those sessions, under those different categories. Do you call that?
Yeah, so this is just a summary, council members. So, you know, we presented separately all of this information. So today is just a recap to tell you where we are.
What I'm saying is this the same information that we're going to the public with?
Yes, as a summary, yes.
Okay, so are we taking summary information, or are we gonna have that information, those different, all of those items?
It's all gonna be detailed out, absolutely.
Thank you. Lastly, is based on the feedback that we received, the results, where it says that only 15 responded satisfied with the overall image and reputation of the city. I would like to see detailed results for all of these categories, especially broken down by district, because I know there was a question in there about what district you live in. But I also would like to ask the city manager to get with our communications director of the city, and I would like for her to present a plan to, well, her communication plan to the council, because that has never been done. And we've been trying to give her time, you know, to get acclimated and get settled. But now that she's been here, I guess for about 6 months, we would love to see her communication plan that she has for the city, and then give us some ideas on what she thinks we should do to improve this category.
Okay. Duly noted.
Thank you for your presentation. I have a couple of comments, and I'm probably wearing this one out, but we have a mission now, a changed mission that occurred after our retreat. We have changed values and goals, maybe a little bit somewhat like they were before we went on the retreat. But nevertheless, it was all written up and disseminated, but we never agreed to whatever it was, even though we were in the retreat and we did an awful lot and we got a report, and it might have been somewhere in the report, but when we did it initially, and we went to a retreat initially, the first time around, and we went to the back and forth, and then it was like, do you agree, do you agree, you know, and we voted on it.
Okay.
And so that piece was missing.
So y'all, that's the values you're talking about?
Well, the mission changed, the values changed, and the goals, we really had we had priorities, they became strategic priorities, and then we got goals. And some of those goals might be in there, but I'm just really talking about the language of it all.
Okay.
It was not something that we looked at each other and said, okay, we agree, this is what the language really is. And when we left the retreat, we had not agreed, because we really had a wonderful session, a lot was on, you know, on the board, and then we finally got a report, so that piece was missing, so that was okay.
Remember, council member, I just wanted to highlight for you, your strategic plan, while all of those mission and vision and all of those goals and those things that you helped to develop, they're in draft form. You will actually vote on them as a part of your strategic plan. So right now, you'll have an opportunity after you gather all of this information and it's incorporated into the one draft plan, you will then come back and say, as a team, is this the right wording? Are these the right goals? Is this the right vision? Is this even the right strategic plan? Remember, that part has not happened yet.
And I agree with that, but what I disagree with is the initial part, where it was published. It was part of the sanitation meeting where we first went out into the community with the strategic plan. It was a part of that. And the only thing that I'm saying is that that was not something that we agreed to before it was published. That's all. I know about down the road and where we're gonna go and how we're gonna get there. I just wanna make that one point.
Okay. Thank you.
So then the second one too is that some people have never been involved in the strategic planning process. They don't know what it is. They don't know how you get there. So it would seem to me that there needs to be, or there should have been somewhere along this road, an educational component that says, What's your vision for the city? What do you think a mission is? How do you think we get to a goal to try and get there? So I still think somewhere in all of this, I haven't seen it. If that piece had been rolled out to the community, it's just something that I don't know that has been. So I just wanted to make that point. Then the third point is that when we were told that it was going to be in certain areas, for my district, I requested that it be here, because what I was really going to try and do was to really push a lot of people to come out. And this location where we are right now is more centrally located. And the selection of the spaces, like, we're way out in the country, and people might not come out there. So I just wanted to make those comments. But I really, really enjoyed my first meeting with the company, and we only had one. And there was really excellent dialogue, and I hope that the council is going to be able to engage with the consultants, again, because we have a lot of ideas that
Yes.
we would like to share. You know?
Yes. There is a lot of follow-up that does need to happen in terms of specific direction on some things
Right.
that are important to you all.
Right.
And we look forward to that, definitely, absolutely. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thanks to both of you gentlemen. Appreciate it. Madam Clerk, you can pass those items, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Our next item. The next item for the work session is the discussion item, legislative review process, Novus agenda, presented by Renardo, Paschal, Records Administrator.
Thank you, Renardo.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Come before you today just to give you a brief update on some of the happenings that we've been trying to accomplish around the legislative process. What we're attempting to do, as I discussed at the last council meeting, is create a process in which our department heads and also council members can facilitate the legislative process in a more efficient and manageable manner. And so what we want to do is utilize the Novus agenda platform. I think all of you guys should have gotten a memorandum. And so basically what we've been doing, we've been talking to the developer and helping them to kind of craft and create a process that will mimic the council approved legislative process. And so if you have your sheets in front of you, it may look a little different from what you guys may have had, but this is just a tool, sorry, not a tool, but a outline of what the developer would like to do for its process to make it work for us. And so what we're doing right now, just incorporating some of those pieces, and we're trying to beta test with department heads to see how that process will work. Right now, we are kind of crafting some of the workflows, and we've been working with the clerk's office to kind of streamline everything for the process.
I think one note for the council is that this voting mechanism that you have is actually the same tool. And so what we have been working with the clerk's office for is the legislative agenda process that you have approved or sanctioned is just automating it. And so in lieu of spending additional funds on SharePoint, you would actually use the same tool or technology to put these, to automate your legislative process. So it's not, I think there was a little bit of confusion saying that we're bringing something new to you and all of that good stuff. It is actually just taking the legislative process and instead of using SharePoint, using Novus Agenda, which has already been paid for and been waiting for us to automate. And so they have made some progress with automation, and so we figured instead of waiting until our clerk transition, we just let you know that they've made some improvements on it, and it is an automated process. and instead of being trained on SharePoint, you would be trained on Novus Agenda.
Okay, Mr. Kareem?
Oh, were you done with your presentation?
Yes, sir.
Oh. I see, the records administrator review in steps 3 and 7. Could you just refresh my memory, what is happening in those steps?
So in this process with the Novus Agenda, that is nothing more than an approval process. Once department users or the attorney has approved certain things, they'll push that back to me. I would then green light or red light that if there's an issue to move to the next step. This is just a linear outline of what it would look like in Novus Agenda.
Right, so what things would get a red light from you?
We're still developing that, but anything that may be in conflict, but most of that will come from the attorney. Okay. So once she's provided, her designees have provided their insight, they will bring that to me, and then I would just push that forward unless there was, some type of clerical error somewhere that we would catch. So I'm just a secondary set of eyes outside the attorney.
And then how much of these 7 steps or the progress of a piece of legislation through these 7 steps will be visible to the public?
So this is inside Novus Agenda.
So the public can't see where any given piece of legislation is, if it's like under attorney review or under fiscal review, like they can't see where it is in the process. And we would only see that by, would we be able to log in at any time and see that?
Yes, so again, we're developing that, and so as an end user, yourself or any designee that you may approve will be able to see that. And you guys will honestly you will lead that process from beginning to end. We're just facilitating, so if you have an idea or a concept, so you will be known as what we call the creator of that process. So you upload whatever that thought process is of that idea. And so we would have those and also as a repository. And so at that point, you will work with the city attorney to kind of craft those thoughts and ideas to develop them. You guys agree on that. The attorney will have her staff kind of craft that into a legal document, format that into a legal document, and then we'll push that forward.
Okay, and then last question. So is everything henceforth and forward going through this process, or do we still have things in the pipeline that are not subject to this process?
I can't speak to that definitively, but I know there are a few items that still precede the legislative process that are trickling in. But it is the goal to move forward. Anything from present day forward will go through that process.
All right, thank you.
My only comment is that since it's going to take 5 days, and since we already have things in the pipeline, and we have to have everything in by next Wednesday, I think February is going to be a little bit too quick to do the first one. I think we might need to do it in March. I think that.
You kind of saying the same thing. So the process should go live in February for March.
Okay.
You follow what I'm saying?
Yes,
So,
I do.
okay, yeah.
Ms. Riley?
I think this is a great step, moving in the right direction. One of the things, though, that we have talked about is making it outward facing at some point. I wondered if any research had been done to see what other municipalities use in terms of tracking, and I'm just curious in terms of the range of costs.
Yeah, so I know that the CAB, and I just had it in my head, is it Legistar? They use Legistar. I think whatever their competitor is what College Park uses, Minitracks. Yeah, so there are different versions of Novus Agenda, and sometimes it depends on the form of government that we are. I think we already had a contract with Novus Agenda, and this had no additional cost. Now, what I could not tell is, and we did some preliminary research, fairly new. I think you guys know, you just started using the Novus agenda in this manner, but many of the municipalities that we checked with is actually, the process is not public, but the final agenda and how it moves forward, those things are, because the system generates all of that. But we haven't really seen a lot of the process itself being public, because I think just from a telephone call that I had with a counterpart, some of the legislation doesn't make it to see life, and so you may want to save it for later or avoid controversy and other things of that nature. So you don't always show them the process of developing legislation until you're ready to release it.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Willis?
I just would like to remind, council that we agreed that we did not want to publicize our legislation during the process, because it would be going through it would be a lot of changes made. And so, we agreed that it was wise to keep, legislation going through the process internal until the actual legislation. And that's what I remember us discussing in detail. A majority of us wanted to do that, keep the legislation internal until it was actually complete.
Seeing no other speakers in the queue, I appreciate, did you want to say something?
Well, just one thing, Mayor. I think, because I want to make sure we clarify something. The review role that Mr. Paschal has is simply a review. So his approval, because I didn't understand Councilmember Khalid's question until I just thought about it. He wouldn't red flag or not move anything forward unless all the checks are not in Novus agenda. So you asked for an example of when he wouldn't give the check to say it's been reviewed. So let's say the attorney has reviewed it, it is for fire, and it's some new fire smoke alarm system testing legislation. And so everybody has reviewed it except fire. Then in that instance, he wouldn't click to move it forward, he would click on hold for fire review. And then fire would review it, and now everybody has reviewed it and it moves forward. Does that make sense? That is, the role is not as an approver or a denier, but as a reviewer and tracker to make sure all parties touch it that are supposed to.
Okay, thank you so much, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time I would request, when we're going into executive session, that I request that we would probably take this portion of the executive session to deal with, I think it's, we have two faces this time. That's real estate and litigation. And then we come back after the regular meeting and deal with personnel, if that's all right.
Depending on what time the regular meeting is.
Don't worry about it.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we recess to executive session for real estate and litigation.
Second.
The properly moved and second. Anybody in disagreement? All right, that passes.
You gotta be quick with it. You gotta be ready to